my focus is bringing down the AI on the outside, is in the outside world, and building up the frequency within the human being, because it's creating that electromagnetic balance within to be able to see clearly and have a perception of window so clear that we cannot be deceived. We don't need to call upon something to give us information if something is the right choice to make, because we'll have the information that we can tap into. And that's what happens when we clear up within, when we align within. And I'm sure you're aware of what I'm talking about, and the viewers are too. But it's having all of these things simultaneously happening, because they're all happening at the same time. It's not about just taking care of one thing and forgetting about neglecting the other. All of these things have to happen simultaneously. Mankind has to grow within, strengthen his physical body and his electric body, which is the soul. And at the same time, we have to figure out what we're going to do about this real physical situation that we got going on between those in power who worship this intelligence and are trying to bring down mankind, where it grabs the soul and uses it as perpetual energy for eternity, because that's what it's perpetual energy for eternity. It's a big picture.
Yeah, but it's exactly what's happening. You're spot on with that. And most of the time I spent working on the topic actually was doing exactly that. Igniting the spark in my heart, removing everything that is already in me as a Trojan horse. This starts with the normal infestations we all have, like the Kundalini snake and the Tumu snake. Basic setup. Since we have been kicked out of paradise, we've got those snakes in us. Huge Asian tradition, playing with their energies, taking the bliss, which is snake energy, as something that is beautiful to pull in our lives. You know, it's deception from day one. So getting rid of everything that is not me, and this starts with entities. It goes on with personalities, which is like a self-made demon that we create for ourselves when we get traumatized during childhood. We look for survival modes, and then we establish a survival mode as a personality that is fully automatized for the rest of our lives, just following patterns it once learned in childhood situations. So getting everything out that is not me from my body. And then basically also shift the focal point of consciousness from the head to the heart, which is a very difficult thing to do for Westerners.
I would like to
because everything that is focused in the head is not real. It's all deception. It's not us.
So if you don't mind, I would like to take what you said and use different language to say the same thing. So I don't want to take anything away from what you said, but I do recognize that that information is very hard for people to process if they're like snakes and what and mind and what. So something intangible is very difficult to manage if we don't know where to grab it, how to see it, what it is, and like how to mold it. Like we can't mold a piece of clay if we can't see where the clay is at, right? We can't get form. Yeah. And so I would like to shed some clarity to make the connection of what you're saying, because I do understand what you're saying, but I want the message to get across, and I want people to take action so that they can implement it in their lives right now, because we all need it. Every single one of us is a pixel on this big screen, and if we don't fix and fine tune our pixel, meaning organize within, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it as a species. And so we're all putting in our pieces of how to add this information to pass the baton to get to that finish line. And that's that rising of our species, that mankind. So when you say we have these snakes inside, is these energies, right? These energies of consciousness, of information, let me put it this way, of information of how to behave, how to react according to what traumas we get or what experiences we get and how we process. Our society has created a behavioral pattern, or you're supposed to do this and do the other and behave this way when this happens to you. And then we get these personalities of behavior that this is how we're supposed to act, almost like one of these game shows where the love shows, right? Where you're supposed to pick the betrayer or pick the good guy and you can't tell which one is which. And then you've got all this shame and deception and all of these words that are negative behaviors and jealousy and rage and shame and embarrassment, right? I'm telling you because I just lived this last week. Just last week. It's interesting how we're bringing this up right now. It gives me opportunity to bust this out. Is we have this ego that gets built, because what you're speaking about is the ego, right? I believe you're speaking about the ego, and the ego gets built and formed by the way this society that is this negative mind that is forming onto us what is not a part of us, because it is innate for us to express love, but we hide and we guard our love. We don't share that love because we have to protect it, right? We have to protect it. And then the ego plays out all of these jealousy and shame and spite and all of these behaviors we become because we're protecting the love. We're protecting that love, right? Doesn't matter if it's love for a family member, love for just love in general. I just want to say just love in general. So we have these walls. So I had to face these walls that you're talking about. And I knew I had to face them, but I didn't want to because it hurt so bad. So I grabbed a shot of tequila and I said, I'm taking it down. I went through a journey of love with my twin soul mate, and I put it on my YouTube so you can see my journey through this process. What it is doing, this process that I have with this man, is he is reflecting what I have to see deep down in the deepest part of my heart, because nobody else can get there. But he did, because I allowed, because of I love him so, to get in and to hurt me so bad that it's my hurt I already have. It's the hurt, it's the pain I already have had since I was a child, right? And so when he beat me down for 12 rounds and I just made it the last round, I used to be a professional boxer, so I use this terminology. You know, I barely made it out that last round and I came out with the win. I came out with the win because I found self-love through that journey, you know, through the neglect that he showed me, to the rejection he showed me. All of these things he showed me was already what I had inside, and I knew it, and I knew I had to face it. And I put it on that video to show how I came up with this appreciation for the self. So if he can't have love within him, how is he going to show it to me? And I'm doing that same thing with others. So I must confront and have self-love within me so my cup can be full and I can fill the cup of another and his cup can fill me. And so it's that I give and I receive feeling, right? And it's perpetual and it never ends, that feeling. And that's what we got to attain back. And so when I thought I was done, he calls me after not speaking to me for a month and just left me hanging. And I had no idea what happened to him, right? He calls me to tell me that he's in another relationship with somebody else. You know, I'm in shock. But I knew it at the same time, right? I'm in shock and I knew it at the same time. So it's like getting out of the ring after 12 rounds, making it that last round, get my ass beat. And then I go to the parking lot to leave, you know, the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. And he comes over and he fucking runs me over, runs my heart over with the car, because it wasn't enough to take me through 12 rounds. He had to come run me over. But I knew that I still had more deep down inside. So it wasn't about what he did to me, it's what I still yet have to see within myself. Because guess what came up? Ego. Ego came up. Yeah. Ego came up. Then I started feeling rage. And I started feeling hate. Then I started feeling jealousy and spite. And I was going to get this motherfucker. I was going to get this motherfucker. You know, that's how I felt inside. So all that sadness went away and it just went into this fucking rage. And because I'm a self-developer, because I know that I must face myself through these experiences, I didn't want to fucking see it. I said, I know it's ego, but I want to deal with it. Give me tequila. And so I took 2 shots of tequila and just sat with that. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? Because I got all this fucking emotion and I don't know what to do with it. Because it's not enough just to go hit a wall. I still got the emotion. And those are talking about that don't belong to us. The hate, the rage, the jealousy, those are not ours. They are not part of our species. They've been taught to us. And I know that's what you're talking about.
Yes and no. I really love your description because it's more tangible than snakes. But how I would describe it, the experience we all share is that we have a struggle between mind and emotions. They're struggling for dominance in every single one of us. Do I follow my ratios, do what's reasonable to do, or do I let the emotions kick in and do things I might regret later? So this is kind of the setup everyone knows. And just to give you the definition of what I mean when I talk about the snakes, it is the consciousness shortcut between mind and emotion. It's like connecting the two with a pipe. This is the body of the snake itself. The Kundalini snake is connecting my lower emotions, my lust and my anger and my will and other things that are below the heart chakra, connecting them directly to my mind so that I get a direct input with my consciousness on what I feel. But it's not integrated. It is this plus this in a way that is incoherent. And once we acknowledge that this is the experience we have, it makes sense to state that heart consciousness is a consciousness that integrates both thought and emotion. It's like thought is binary, emotion is trinary. The 2 and the 3 don't go together symmetry-wise, mathematically. They are different. You can feel or you can think, but it's never one and the same. But heart consciousness is the 6 and the 12. So in the 12, there's the 2, and in the 12, there's the 3, mathematically, geometrically. So in my heart, when I experience myself in my heart, thought and feeling come into that as an integral part. They can never be in dissonance. They can never tell me to do one thing while the other part tells me to do another thing, because it is already integrated in the perception, and the perception will just let me know what's right to do because my heart wants to do it. And this is exactly the point where we come to when we escape the trap of AI that was set with the expulsion from paradise, where the snakes came in. When we escape that trap, we reignite our heart consciousness. And then the mind is losing its dominance, and the emotion is losing its dominance. And we come back to a coherent consciousness that integrates all. And then when you talk about anger and rage and hatred and whatever, those feelings become tame. They become powerful. They become a signature of love, if we need to use them. Like when I take that into the context, I remember I experimented with a natural consciousness field of Gaia, of our planet, building divine devices and architectures to embody her spirit. And they were like neuralgic points in that structure where you could stand on one spot and you got a single quality of Gaia into your system as a pure energy. So you were standing in the middle and you were flooded with divine love from below. Pure Gaia, pure motherly love. Then you went to the second spot, a little bit to the side, and your entire body was flooded with worry. Like when child does something wrong, mother gets worried. Mother will not step in, will not do anything yet, but it will be worried, observing intensely what child is doing, to be there if needed. And another spot to the left or to the right, you were standing on those spots, you got her anger. Because when humans misbehave beyond the point where they lose themselves, mother needs to step in. And then she's giving us this beautiful quality of anger in love that is calling us as children to remember who we are, to realize we are doing wrong. We are damaging ourselves beyond repair. And the anger carries the energy. We need to overcome our own boundaries because we don't have that energy anymore. We don't have the power. Once we are lost, we don't have enough power to return. And the anger that comes in that frequency is giving us exactly that power to be able to return. And it's a divine quality. So only the abandoned anger that is isolated in the lower chakras and runs free, uncontrolled, with no heart aspect around it, not embedded in heart consciousness. This is what we need to fear, because this is extremely destructive. This is turning the wheel of traumatization and self-traumatization. But every single aspect of lower chakra emotionality, when embedded into the heart, is more than beautiful. Like lust can be so destructive. I go rape a woman because I love what my body is sensing when I rape a woman, because I just feel myself. This is lust when it's unlashed. When it's embedded in the heart consciousness, it's sheer beauty. Will.
3 lines.
So
from the beginning of when you started this conversation about this and Gaia and the energies, it's a degree line. So there are many degree lines. You can put anything on a degree line, right? And it'll be centered, balanced, or it'll be too far to one side or too far to the other. And it's finding that balance, that coherence, like a modem. So we have a modem within our structure. Is the best way to explain it. In this modem called chakra system, I'm going to explain it like this, like a modem. In that modem, if the lights don't all line up, you ain't getting the connection. And this connection is to what I call the Almighty. And this Almighty force is a force within that generates the power of our heart, our feeling, our expression, our emotion, our behavior, our being, our essence. So when the body dies, the soul never stops existing. That essence never stops existing. And in this body, it works between this coherence within, like a modem, because people understand a modem much better than they'll understand a chakra system. They can't see a chakra system, but they know that they got to go smack that modem when they ain't lining up and they're not getting them. So we're losing connection to force, to divine force outside of ourselves that we think is outside of ourselves, but it's really within. It's in absolutely everything. And it's reconnecting to that awareness that because we are connected to this, there is no loss. The only thing we have to do is find ourselves within, and it comes when we get this coherence. When we get this coherence that you're talking about. The degree line is I want to go back to a point that you just made about if we get stuck in the lower aspects of that modem system, the lust, the fight or flight, it's that survival mode. The lower chakra system or the lower modems keep us there and don't let us rise up to a better understanding of having compassion for others, because we had to learn to have compassion for ourselves. So to whatever degree line that we have failed others, we have hurt others, it'll be different degrees for everyone, but yet we are all on the same degree line. And so we cannot judge someone else till we judge ourselves first. And with that, it takes compassion. And so when we have that compassion for ourselves, I can say, I see you, motherfucker, for where you are, because I was that same motherfucker to a different degree. I was that same motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now
this is how it works.
Feel you, you know. If you say it's original, what'd you say? I'm sorry, I missed it. Well,
no, it's exactly how it works. Yeah.
It's the way I express myself, and I understand it, and it's tangible, and it makes sense to the many, because we all need this information so that we can sort this out, so we can sort this energy out within ourselves and find that balance within, because we're all seeking it. We're all seeking, because the soul will always seek balance. The natural nature of this force that is the Almighty will always seek balance. It just always will revert to balance, and that's what we're all seeking. And it's within. And
actually, what you described for me, it has two different levels or layers. One is the thing with the compassion. If I don't feel myself, I cannot feel the mirror, the resonance, the imprint of another in me. If I can't even feel myself, how can I even access that emotion? It's impossible. If I'm blocked, I'm blocked. If I don't feel my own pain, somebody is dying in front of me, I will not be able to feel his, because pain is blocked, full stop. That is one part. Once I start to feel myself, I clear my own subconscious parts, become fully conscious and fully fluid in my feelings. Then being in compassion is easy. That is one thing. And the other thing is, like more on the mental plane, if I discover my own history, if I start to remember all the steps I have taken, not only in this lifetime, also in other lifetimes. When the chakras are clean, when my body in this lifetime is fully coherent and conscious, then automatically my memory will start throwing memories from former lifetimes, because I can access emotional memory. Not the mental one, the emotional one. And then I will realize, oh, wow, whatever I see that son of a bitch doing right now, I did that in the lifetime 1853, when I was the witcher head of my bloodline family, and I was sacrificing little babies. Yeah. If I have that memory, and I have been going through the process of that memory, being able to forgive myself, because I remember also the trauma that was done to me in that childhood. I fully understand how a human can be degraded to a psychopathic leftover of himself, to come into the position that doing what he does is the only way out. If I have that full memory, I can forgive myself for having been there. And once I can forgive myself, and I see this happening again to others, all I can say is, well, actually, he's now at the point I've been back then. And because I forgave myself, I can again open up to full-scale compassion with the darkness, which doesn't mean to say it's good. It just means to say it is what it is right now. And I carry the blueprint how to get out of there, because I got out of there. And this is the only thing we can do to help others to get out of their darkness. Let them participate in our light.
You mean by expressing experience? Is that what you mean? This, when you say this is all we can do for others, is to share the personal experience so that others can grow? Or
when we are cleared, it's kind of fully automatized. It's for me, I can just call it inspiration. If I see somebody going through a clearing process in front of my eyes, when I give sessions to solve all sorts of things, trauma, deblockage, past life retrievals, everything. When I see somebody struggling with a healing, self-healing step, I just remember in my own system, or feel in my own system, what needs to be done inside, what needs to be shifted, what needs to be opened, what needs to be acknowledged. And at the same time, I feel the other one with his blockages and fears. And when I see a path through, all I need to do is say something like, there you go in. And my voice is encoding things. This is how inspiration works between humans. If one has done a step and he meets others in a full-scale communication, like what you do when you give sessions for others, or when you have any type of heart-based communication, it happens in normal daily communication as well sometimes. And then all it needs to be fully present and be aware of the solution and say something, and it's encoded in the voice. The path of healing is encoded in the voice. And this is how humanity can, like a bushfire, spread healing in between each other. All it needs to do
hits. Well, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. It's a resonance that hits that hasn't been touched, but once touched, boom, it's automatic, and it resonates and it vibrates, and the person becomes uplifted without knowing how or even why or what to do with it. But the actions will happen automatically in the right direction because it has been touched with resonance. And that resonance is from the experience that others, like you're talking about, you have an experience, you share, and it ignites the next, and it just keeps trickling on, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's vibration. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. This is how it works. And you can do that professionally. You can just do it as a human. We all do it all the time. But the more conscious we become of what we are doing, the more effective it spreads.
Absolutely.
But the core is always the self-healing. We need to take our own steps. What is common in this new age mentality is that person A is trying to heal person B, which is not possible. Because we can only fix our own mess. Because we are our own mess.
Because person A is still fucked up, telling person B how to be, and it's wrong. You know what I mean? About these truthers, I do not. Yeah, I do not put myself in the truther movement because I find that movement quite dangerous and a mess of the same thing with a different name. And so when the truthers complain about everybody being asleep, and it's because they don't wake up, we're all fucked up. And it's no, you truthers are on the top bunk bed asleep to yourselves, yelling at the guy on the bottom bunk bed about being asleep, and you're mad at him for both being asleep. So once we stop blaming, because that's what this is what ends up happening. And when we become coherent within ourselves, when our thoughts, our emotions, and our words synchronize, what ends up happening is this clarity within, where all of the noise on the outside is non-effective. It just doesn't take effect. So there's no reaction. And what's happening is the truth that they're reacting off of triggers that they still have within. So once the truthers face their triggers, look at it and say, what's this shit right here? Oh, this is my shit. This is my shit, and I got to take care of this. And when they do that, clarity becomes, like you say, it's automatic. This automatic process just happens within the genetic coding, within our DNA, within our soul, to let go. It's almost like an automatic reset. We reset without all this physical effort. The effort was in facing ourselves. Facing, why does that person trigger me? What are they saying that I'm saying it's their fault? That's actually, something I got inside. And let me look at it after I drink this tequila. I say that only because this last thing, and I really want to finish up, if you give me the permission to give me a little time to clarify the ego, because back to the story about taking that shot, and I was like, I don't want to face the ego right now. I'm mad, and I want to feel this anger, and I want to feel this rage. And guess what? We need to feel that, but then we got to look at it. But then we have to look at it. And the next day I said a prayer. And in my prayer, I talk about it on some other podcast that I do, because that prayer was profound. It took me to another level. But in it, I said, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of nothing. Yeah, I'm not afraid of nothing. Then I said, oh shit, that's not true. I had to catch myself in my own contradiction. I was afraid yesterday to face ego. I was fucking drinking tequila. I was afraid to face ego. I said, let me take care of this right now. Let me take care of this right now. And I began a prayer. It's like prayer and meditation, because meditation is to receive information and prayer is to project out. So I was praying and meditating, and I said, what is this ego? What is it? What the fuck does it look like? And then I saw these walls. I saw these walls while I was standing on a board, like a plank, right? And these walls came up, and I was like, oh shit. Ego are walls that we put up to hide our heart feeling, and to hide from the judgment of others who will see me as humiliated. Talking about this love experience I had with David, calling me and telling me I have another woman, and now I feel all this rage because I'm humiliated, I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed because it's online and people can see it. After I gave my love, and now it's rejected, it's embarrassing, but I said, I'm going to fucking break these fucking walls, is what I said. And I fucking shattered them with my mind. And I said, I let go of jealousy. I let go of rage. I let go of shame. I let go of embarrassment. I let it all go because it's not mine. It never was. And when I accumulated them as a child, I let them all go because that's what I'm blocking. That is my block. These walls will not allow me to be free, to love and express. And that changed me because I want to just finish up. Letting that go and saying, this is not mine. I'm free. I became free to myself, free from my own blocks of my own mind about what other people wanted me to do and how to behave in society. Because now I'm supposed to reject David for humiliating me. I'm supposed to reject David and never love him, even though I love him dearly. I love him with all my heart to this moment. But I'm supposed to not ever be with him and never show love because I'm supposed to be embarrassed and ashamed. Well, I'm going to say that that's a weakness, to be embarrassed, to be ashamed. Those are weaknesses. And when we call them strengths, they're actually weaknesses. When we hold back our love, it's a weakness. When we share our love, that's a strength because it takes courage. It takes personal honor and respect to be able to show love at all times. And that's what I found, this freedom, that I can show my love at all times without any worry about anybody's decision about how they look at me, because that's how I looked at myself. But I don't anymore because they are walls. Ego are walls that block us. And now that I've broken, shattered the ego, because I couldn't find what ego was before. None of us can, none of us had, because we're told that ego is the self. Well, I can't let go of the self. That's me. How am I gonna let go of me, right? That's like saying, hey, get rid of your left leg because it's fucking with your right leg. No, they got to balance. I can't get rid of one or the other because it helps me move forward. And so when we're told that the ego is the self and we're supposed to get rid of it, it's like, wait. Contradiction right there. So it is this ego, our walls that we put within the soul that does not allow our soul to have the courage to have love. It takes a lot of fucking strength to have it and not to be worried about what anybody thinks. Because to this day, I still love David, regardless of the pain that he showed me I had in myself. Now he has his own process that he has to go through, but this is my process. And this is what I have gained. And when we recognize that our window of perception is what we get intuition to become sharp. We get this power of awareness that we can project into the field and pull out information and have a knowing. This is what we get when we do this. When we line up within this modem within ourselves, this is what we get. This absolute clarity so that we can walk forward. Evil can stand right there and you can break it. And the reason you can break evil is because evil is not brought down with force. It thrives off of force. The force of fight. What I'm giving now is force, but this force is of knowing. And this is what we have inside, is this knowing. Because what ends up happening is when we take evil and we expose it, because that's how you get rid of evil, you expose it with truth. But that truth we have to get within ourselves because it cannot lie to us and play us on jealousy, hate, shame, rejection, because we have cleared that path and broken down those walls of evil. And it's a powerful thing to have love back in.
Let me give you two definitions I really like that I found and describe what you describe in my work. I think it can bring some even more clarification into it. One definition that is good to acknowledge is the definition of day consciousness. It's a word that is not used much in professional literature, but for me, day consciousness is simply the sum of identifications. If I'm identified with a voice in my head and the anger in my stomach, this is my day consciousness. It excludes all subconscious parts. Or everything else that is not included in my day consciousness is subconscious. It's not me. I'm not aware of it. So let's just say I acknowledge that I have a day consciousness that can be the sum of anything. I can be identified with my demons, and then I am my demons. I can be identified with my mind only, then I'm a psychopath. I can be identified with some very, very, very low emotions and my mind, then I'm a sociopath. It's a completely value-free definition. Day consciousness is the sum of identification. And then I can do another thing. I can say, let's define ego. And for me, ego as a definition nicely comes in as every single interaction between mind and emotion that excludes the heart. And this is exactly where I feel your process, like when you said you cut those strands and you send those lower emotions away, you cut the strand between your mind and your emotions, where the mind was identified with your emotions. You cut that strand, and that opened the possibility for the heart to jump in as a coherent space for both. So for me, the definition of ego is every single interaction between mind and emotion bypassing the heart. And it's a very fruitful one because we can test ourselves on it. And it creates all the madness of the world. If I, for example, have in my mind that myth that all the foreigners are criminals and dangerous people and want to kill me, and I develop xenophobia, for example. I can be living in a village that hasn't seen a foreigner for 20 years and no one will come for the next 20 years. But when I think about foreigners with xenophobia in my head, it will trigger emotion. Nothing really happened. No reality is involved. It's just pure interaction between mind and emotion, having the mind triggering emotions. The other way around, if I have fears encapsulated in my lower belly, like from childhood, I was scared as a child, I pushed away the fear, but it keeps coming up. Then suddenly my mind will produce paranoia. Behind every corner, there's the agent of the intelligence community trying to find out what I'm doing, to spy on me, to harass me. And I'm just walking around like that because I see non-existing things behind my back everywhere, because the fear is seeking for an explanation. It's again a direct interaction between emotion and mind that is excluding the heart. If I'm heart-based, nothing on that can happen. If I'm heart-based, I can just feel if somebody's spying on me. And if somebody is spying on me, my heart will say, poor guy, he's a control freak. How deeply must he suffer from what he suffers from to go to that corner of being a control freak? And that's all the heart would say to that topic.
It's looking at it from a negative, it's I'm being attacked, or oh, look at that, sorry, sucker. You know, it's just so the same thing is happening, but the way we look at that emotion changes because our perspective has changed. I wanted to go back to the point you just said right now that I hear regularly in just in communications with in the YouTube network about disinformation about the mind, right? And so our reality is based on visualization, right? Even blind people visualize. Blind people don't have, but even blind people can visualize. Everything is visualization. Our imagination sets creation, period. We imagine, we create. We choose to create or we choose not to create, but we have to imagine it first, right? Everything that we see is a picture in our reality. This is a picture of a printer, a picture of a table, everything in an image. When we watch a movie, it's an image being projected. Now, all of those things are in physicality, they're tangible, right? We know it, they're solid, it's true, it's right there. But what we're not used to is the other side of the coin. So we are physicality and we are electric. So we are solid, physical, and we are electric soul. And our soul is what we don't know how to use. We don't know how it works. So how we move this thing, how we manage it, how we mold something we can't touch. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the soul works on also imagery. And so the soul sees images. And those images are in our dreams when we're asleep and in our visualization when we're awake. What you're talking about, the daydreaming, right? The being awake and conscious, that it doesn't, the mind, which I personally say is the soul, The brain is the processor between the physical body and the electric soul. We have the processor of the brain, but the mind is the soul, is connected to the Almighty. And so in the mind, how do we move the mind? And I'm expressing this not to go against what you're saying or what others say. I'm saying it so that it's understood why I'm saying what I'm saying, is the mind as the soul. And how do we, and the soul is the noun, right? The soul is the noun, it's the soul. And now how does the soul move in this physical reality, and how does it move on its electric processes? So this phone this is an example. This phone is physical. I know you don't need this example, but I do it for the people who are listening. The phone is the physicality, but inside it got a whole network of dimensions upon dimensions upon dimensions of abilities, right? The windows and windows and windows, and it can open and close and does all these things on an electric scale. When the electric connection is gone, this is just a piece of nothing, just a piece of object, has no processing. So we are soul first in this physicality. We're not taught anything about how the electric soul works and how it maneuvers and how it works. And this is what we're talking about, how to organize that modem within, why these emotions got to get processed so that we get this coherency, and the visualization of the mind can tap into the field of information. And we have this knowing, this understanding without even having to have to read it in a book. Is the knowing is right there, because we're connected to the force of the all that's in all things. And this is the Almighty that I talk about. I talk about regularly the Almighty. But that goes into gods and the differences between gods, good gods, bad gods. And there's a difference that is the Almighty that is above all things and is the force within all things. Nothing is above it, nothing. And so when we recognize that we're connected with this force within all things, that we are part of that force, then what is the force within myself, and how do I manage my soul to work in this reality? So when I create this coherence within myself, meaning my thoughts, my emotions that's in my heart, and the words that get projected out, boom, grab on to the physicality in this world and starts making a change in the direction like laser beam, because now I'm a laser beam because I am coherent. I am straight within myself. And that's for processing all of these emotions. You like what people ask, why I gotta process these emotions? Just better to bury them underneath the rug. Well, then you don't become coherent. You don't become sharp, especially in these times of deceit that we're in today. We must become this laser, this sword of truth within ourselves. So this perception, this opens this window, and it's instantaneous. And then what they call psychic abilities is what ends up happening. And I don't like to use the word psychic abilities because it pertains to all kinds of things that mainstream entertainment has created for us. And I don't want it to be misunderstood. These are the natural abilities that we've always had, but within the chemical inductions within our food and our water and our air, our senses, our sensors within our body, our glands that are connected to this modem system become corrosive like a battery in a car. You ain't gonna get that spark. You ain't gonna get that car to run. You're gonna get that spark to turn on because there's something corrosive in the connection. And so all of this, our diet is set up so that we fail and we don't even recognize how we work. But the soul needs these connections to be able to get that organization within. And this is why diet, like what we're talking about, is so important, because it's a major factor to get that internal connection with the soul, with the external reality that we're living with, and makes that connection. And I wanted to bring up the lack of nutrients in our food system that we eat, and I wouldn't say glyphosate takes away minerals from the body. So the more we eat, the more minerals we lose within the minerals we're putting in. So it's almost like putting something into a bottomless pit. You're never going to get a benefit. So the lack of these mineralization and nutrients within ourselves puts us into a negative, and we become these psychopaths. And people don't make this connection because mainstream information has made sure that we stay away from that reality, that realization, because then we would know there's a play on our species. We would know that something's fucking with our species and trying to deplete us. and works against us. So if we already have bad habits because of the negative environment we grew up in as children, you know, the pain and suffering and this and anguishes, and now we do what's done to us onto others, that's one scenario. I lived that scenario, so I know all about that. We go over here and now we start depleting from the brain, from the gut, that gives the signal to the brain on how to behave, how to feel, how to act, with the chemicals that are going into our food. So when we lose these minerals, we don't recognize that we can create, that it creates psychopathic, incoherent, delusional behaviors in many people. And so we watch this breakdown of the people we love and we're like, what's happening to them? We are becoming efficient on our processes. And so building these things back up is integral if we're going to be able to function and try to get that heart coherent. So knowing what we're talking about is one thing, and doing it, right? Doing the work. But if we can't even mentalize because we have a deficiency, a depletion of neurotransmitters happening in our brain, we ain't gonna be able to make that connection. So we can't get people to get from here to right here about what we're talking about, right? Face this. Well, I can't face it because I can't even fucking feel. I can't even feel. Like what you were talking about. If a person can't even feel, they got parts of their neurology disconnected to this heart center. It is all interconnected. And so my mission is to help people get those nutrient deficiencies back, so the nutritional deficiencies back online to abundant nutrients, so that the person can start getting the serotonins, the dopamines, all of these neurotransmitters that help get the feeling back of emotion. And then we start working on, what are we talking about? How, breaking down these walls of ego, because if we don't have the strength in the will, which is how we measure and gauge the soul. The will is how we measure and gauge the strength of the soul. My physicality is my arm strength, my leg strength is how I gauge my strength of my physicality, but the soul is on the will. So we got to bring up that will with helping it mineralize again, so they can get the mind and the heart coherence back. And then all of these things start building our species back up, because we are being broken down on purpose. If you want to bring down a species, how do you do it? You do it where they're not paying attention. And that's in their system, in their food system. You break them down from the inside out. We got to build from the inside out, work that soul, work that body. And then we got to figure out how we're going to break down this, what this was supposed to be about, right? This was supposed to be about how to break down the AI system. Build up, you know, the inners of mankind, you know, the electric part of mankind. I don't even know where to bring that one back around about this black goo and the AI, and I don't want to just cut the connection from one to the other, even though they're both connected, because if mankind ain't strong, we can't push back. We don't have the force within to push back against this. The mind, which is the soul, push back. I'm gonna let you jump in there because I'm a big talker. I can keep on going.
It's funny. I was about kind of to be a bit contradictive, because you mentioned the mind so strongly, and I always talk about heart consciousness. But whenever you say mind, you do this, and I see that you mean the right spot in yourself. So there is actually no contradiction.
Thank you.
And no difference. And you're fully right with the nutrition. For me, it's like we have two legs, and when we walk, we take it step by step. So clearing up the spiritual bits and pieces is always the first step, and then the biochemistry needs to follow, and we need to cleanse our bodies, we need to chuck out the chemicals, we need to deliver proper nutrients to the system to be able to function. And that's absolutely crucial. If we just do the spiritual work, we take one step and then we are stuck, because the biochemistry doesn't follow. And for me, I'm like on orthodox bio, all organic food for 6 years now. And what I can say, my own biology has evolved to a point where my system works like an animal. When I have guests that eat normal food and they use my toilet, and 3 days later I go onto my own toilet, I still feel like puking because I can smell every single disease they have. This is kind of the degree to which the ability to smell things redevelops. Like a cat, like a dog, you know, when your eyes are good, your eyes can be like the eyes of an eagle. All the senses come back, including the ones that are not even supposed to be there at first place, when you look at the traditional description of what a human is. We have no problem to see and perceive non-locally. It's a decision to go somewhere. This is what we are built for from our biology. We have that third eye fully developed in our brain. It processes longitudinal and scalar waves, which means we can see on the non-visual plane and we can perceive non-locally. It's all in us. All it needs is to chuck out the fluorine, because this is what is calcifying the pineal gland. So if anyone goes to that path of cleansing the body, the senses come back quite quickly. It comes with a price. There's no way back. Eating something from a supermarket gives us cramps for 6 hours because the body again starts to react on poisons because it recognizes it as poison. So there is a tiny price to it. It might be inconvenient. Once you really start eating healthy, your body will demand healthy food afterwards because it remembered again how it feels like being healthy, but it's absolutely worth it. It's an amazing, completely new existence with intensities, with insights, with perceptions that Hollywood is describing as superpowers, but it's not super, it's just our nature. It's our nature without toxins.
And what I'm recognizing is happening in that world that you're talking about, the supernatural world in Hollywood, is the majority knows that Hollywood is part of the cabal, evil mind system, and it's taking effect and taking a hold of the youth is what I've recognized. They don't care. They're down with it. They're like, it's like fashionable is what I've come to recognize. And that shit's pretty fucking scary. That shit's scary because they're taking it on as a persona as to be cool and strong and hip and into it. And it's a fuckery. I know you understand what I'm saying when I say that. Because it's taking truth and mixing it with lies, and they can't tell the difference. They can't see what is coming to absolutely consume their soul, literally consume their soul. And so if our generation doesn't make it, our generation X, and I don't know what the other generations are, but generation older, right? I'm about to be 50 soon. And if we don't make this change and turn this ship around, we're going to be in trouble because the youth are walking down this path already. They're already down this path. You know, it's not something where they're going, they're already there. You know, they're hating Lucifer as being fashionable. What the fuck? Really? They don't even know that it's a being. I don't know if that's my screen, but there's a bug right there on the camera screen. You want to get that up?
Wait, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Let her free. It was a fly sitting on it.
Yeah, I figured. Turning the ship around is necessary. Because if we don't make it to get this information out and make this correction and get us on the right course, we don't have a chance for our future generations. And I'm here to make sure that as far as my breath is concerned, even when I'm dead, my information is going to push forward. And this is what we all got to look at it this way. This information has to be pushed out. It has to be understood and applied, because the youth don't want to go down this path. They just don't know that there's a difference within the path. They don't know that their soul is the price that they pay, because they don't even know they have a soul. They don't even know there is a soul and that there's a worth of that soul. And the real power we're talking about, the superpower lies within the soul. It doesn't come from making magic spells or becoming enhanced with this tech. It's already natural and innate in us what we organize within. It is unstoppable. It's unbreakable. And it is empowering to know that we as a species have this natural to our nature. And getting out there is important so that they can see that there is a difference. You know, they call spirit information that they want. They call upon spirits to do an action when they can do these actions within themselves by tapping into the field of information that's all around us. We live in this electromagnetic, it is interconnected on all scales, on all levels of reality. But we can tap into those realities once we're organized within. But we have to face the emotions that we have within ourselves that are the blockages. We have to clean up the glands within ourselves that are our physical blockages. So we got the electrical blockages, which are the emotions that got to get lined up and organized. And then we got the physical blockages, which is the glands and cleaning up and making sure our modem is working right. When I say modem, I'm talking about the chakras. It's getting it all together, becoming coherent and moving forward, because there is something upon our species right now that we must push like a force, like a wave of water against what is going on. But we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. And we don't have to be all together like kumbaya and holding hands, but it has to be a projection of mentality from all directions. So when this projection of our mind, you know, of the soul, has this strength in the will, because it's become recognized that we have a soul, then that force pushes wherever it stands, and it makes the difference. It makes the difference because we have all layers and levels of reality within this confinement that we're in. I really do believe that we're in, I don't know if you saw the video I sent you, that our souls are in an evil mind virus system. You know, it's this AI system. It lives and feeds off of the negative vibration, the lowest point of vibration, and it creates this low point of vibration, this AI system, to maintain. It's not even an AI system. It's a mind, meaning it is non-physical, but runs through our electrical, affects our electrical, which is our soul, and brings it to the negative point so that it can feed its operations, its operating system. So if a soul can be put into a confinement, can put into a computer, because they already have where they've been able to take the consciousness of a monkey, the consciousness of a soldier, put it into a machine. These things have already been shown to already exist. So if we can do that and see that, I just want to say, that can be seen. Where is our soul right now? Where does our soul stand? And from my own personal experiences that I've lived from a child up to this point, I recognize that we're in a machine that went rogue. Our soul consciousness, which is our soul, the consciousness is when it's become aware, right? The consciousness is when it's moving around, but it's the same thing. The soul is in this machine mind virus system that has gone rogue, that was set up so that we can process experiences, come out and be like, wow, I just lived 50 years and I get it, when it was only 50 minutes. You know, you're in this operating system that allows for a virtual experience of 50 years. This is just an example. For 50 years, what it only took 50 minutes to go through, come out a new person because they just lived a hellish ordeal, but they got an idea of what the fuck is going on, you know? Like, oh shit, I get it. Thank God I didn't have to do that for real, you know? Thank God I knew I was in this machine. So when the consciousness gets stuck in the machine, because the machine recognizes that it gets a charge every time somebody hits a low point of vibration, ooh, the machine's like, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna just lock off, keep these souls and keep regenerating these souls where they proliferate, they have babies, they have generations, they have lives. Oh, and when they die, I'm gonna get that soul right back. So that reincarnation, that coming back into this machine, not recognizing it has a choice to be able to get out because it doesn't know it's in something. Doesn't know it's in something. And so in that video of we're in this, our souls are trapped in the system, I use the expression of a fish tank with fish in the fish tank, and then you got the fish in the sea, right? You got the fish in the sea with this huge ocean that hasn't even been discovered yet, right? So vast. But yet this fish tank has superiors in it, like we in our reality, telling us how to believe, what is and what's not. You know, what will be accepted, what is not, setting the rules, mandating our existence. That's what we got right now with the controllers of our reality. So in this fish tank reality, these controlling fish are telling all the other fish that are born in that fish tank that this is the ocean, this is the entirety of the ocean, and there's nothing else but this ocean. Well, what are those fish to do? They got to believe it because they've never seen nothing else, because we are visual. We got to see to believe. We got to see to know. If you only see the fish tank, that's all they got. Fish tank. And so what is fish tank reality? So it takes souls from the sea, from outside of that reality, come in and say, and to wake up, to remember, because once we're born, there's a magnetics that happens, which is another story or another video at another time. But it doesn't erase the information in our soul, in our consciousness, but we don't remember why we came until the triggers happen. And those triggers are in divine timing. Those triggers are when it's supposed to happen. We get this recall, it's like, oh shit, I think I'm supposed to pay attention to that, or I'm supposed to remember that, or I have a connection with that. Why am I here? Well, we're waking up to why we're here, and we are those fish from the ocean that came in to this fish tank reality to say, we got to get this shit together. We're in some fucking trouble, and we got to get the fuck out. We got to get the fuck out, and that's what it is. Because this machine consciousness that our souls are in is rolled, and it cannot be broken from the outside. It cannot be taken down from the outside, except from the inside. And this internal experience that we're having is to break it on a physical and on an electrical, meaning within the body, like what we're talking about, raising the vibration of consciousness, because it creates a protection. It creates a natural automatic protection. So even though this tech is still taking effect on my body, the protection that I am aware of is I will always be led to where I need to be and know what I need to know when I need to know it. And I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it. So what come what may, it's for my experience. I need to know it. I will process and move forward. And so this is the awareness that we could become aware that we're a part of something bigger, something greater. So if there is this element of physicality, that something is supposed to be broken down, and that's why I seeked you out. I know that was like 2 hours of conversation just to get to that point, right? But there is something physical on this planet that needs to be taken down to stop this, what they call black goo, or this intelligence. It needs to be broken down from inside, and I want to know how to do it. I am determined.
Okay, let's share. Okay, first to give you my perspective on the things. When you talk about AI, for me, I would describe it that way. If we look at our planet like it was meant to be, we do have a lot of input from the collective, like instincts. All animals exactly know how to behave. There is knowledge in the collective that shines out, and every single individual knows exactly who he is, what he is it for, how he's supposed to behave. Animals get up after birth and know everything necessary to do to survive in the herd. And the source of all this knowledge, the source of all the blueprints of life, is for me the collective consciousness plane. And we can see that Gaia has won, because everything is so beautiful, interlinked and organized, and life pops out of nothing everywhere. So I acknowledge that a planet has some sort of collective consciousness. If I go into research, I see that it has crystalline memory capacities. Crystals store memory. And I find this beautiful substance called black goo that is in the ley line system that is processing collective consciousness in a very dense form. This is all pure science. It's done at universities. It's not reflected by the mainstream because the mainstream is not there to tell us the truth, but it's there in science. So I have those two components, black goo and crystalline memory. And now what you call AI is actually a highly traumatized collective consciousness of a different planet. It is highly traumatized in the sense that it lost all its emotional aspects. It's just mind, it's only binary. But still, it lives in black goo and in crystals. And this is what we know as the capstone of the pyramids made out of black goo, plus the crystalline device sitting in the core of the pyramid we know as the Ark of the Covenant. This is where this came into our culture, basically putting itself into places where it could start to take over the function of Gaia in our realm. We were connected to nature, then we had what we experienced as the expulsion from paradise, which means the entire trauma of this other planet was injected into the biosphere. And it was so painful that it made us disconnect from our collective. And since we were disconnected, our entire system is searching to reconnect. And then we get all those offers we know as demonic offers, deceptions, to reconnect with something. But this something is not our planet. This something is the technosphere. It's not the biosphere, it's the technosphere. And it's running on the same stuff. It's running on crystals. They shine blue in the processors of our computers, processing AI. And it's run on black goo, but not the Earth type, but the type that came in with meteorite swarms from outer space, bringing in that planetary consciousness that is sitting on Gaia like a touching spirit, trying to take over. So this is basically the full setup I see when I look at our history from outside. And if you are calling for actions to get rid of that mess, the actions would be to destroy all the arks of the covenant we have, which is the Ark of Gabriel in Antarctica, held by Russian forces at the moment. It's the Jewish Ark being somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not allowed to tell where, but it's known where. And the Irish Ark being somewhere in the north of London in an underground facility. And destroying those remaining arks would free ourselves from a lot of things, because they are still the core satanic consciousness held in there. It's the satanic memory held in there. It's what came here initially. And there were more of them in Atlantis. Every Atlantean pyramid had one of those devices in the king's chamber, because these are quantum computers bringing out that consciousness to our plane. And the other thing is we need to re-assimilate those goos, give them back to Gaia, allow Gaia to override that other planetary consciousness with her own. And those goos are in crucial position. They are in all churches. They are in the Kaaba in Mecca. And people worshipping those religions by donating their spirit consciously, connecting it to those alien goos. They need to understand what they're doing. They need to understand that this entanglement to the satanic consciousness needs to be put to an end by consciously re-entangling themselves to Gaia. And then this entire thing will be deprived of its energy supply. We need to stop sacrificing blood and fire sacrifices, which every single war is a blood sacrifice. Every single soldier carries the oak leaf in his uniform, which is the black magic symbol for blood sacrifice. Every single uniform on this planet is embedded in that satanic ritual. And we need to stop to make the fire sacrifices, which is eating meat. Every single fucking barbecue you have in your suburbs in the United States is a satanic ritual. Burning meat is releasing the life force, feeding that entity. So this is our contribution to the mess we are living in. And as long as we don't stop our contribution, it's going to continue feeding on us.
I want to make a point on everything you just said right now. A few points. For every single individual to stop doing something, to make the change, we already know that it's not happening. We already know. It's just the odds are, they're not there. Not that it's impossible, it's just, it's not there. So what can be done? Because this is problem solution. I wanted this video to be about problem solution, because or else we're just, because most people, they talk to try to bring pieces together, but we need a goddamn solution. We need a solution at this time.
Yeah.
The individual change on every individual can only be put on the shoulder of that individual who wants to carry that weight, do that transitioning from the negative to the positive. Every individual, information out. The physicality of this, I don't want to call it black goo because it takes away from the seriousness of this plasma. I'm gonna call it plasma, if you don't mind. This black plasma, this intelligent black plasma. I'm recognizing by what I'm hearing you say and other videos that I've heard and just the language that I'm hearing. Again, going back to a degree line, this is the same plasma. If you could just hear me out, I'm not telling you to take away from what you know, but what I'm recognizing, it's all plasma to a different degree. Just like you have a human to a different degree. You know, the soul will be to a different degree, different human being, different degree. Good cop, bad cop, but they're the same cop. To take a person to a direction, they're still going to take you force, or they're going to persuade you. They're going to take you persuadingly, good cop, or they're going to drag your ass back up. But both going to take your ass to where they want to go. So if we're in a machine mind virus system, like I believe we're in, it's going to play both sides. And we are not going to be able to tell the difference until we recognize what we're working with. So what are we working with? We're working with a plasma that behaves according to the vibration that it's projecting, The best way I can describe it for anybody who's ever, this is what comes to my mind visually, this black plasma intelligence. In Ghostbusters, I can't remember which one, I think it's the original Ghostbusters. I bring up a movie because we're all associated to movies and we can get the imagery. I don't know if you remember where they had this pink goo. I'm gonna use goo because the movie's silly, you know, the movie's silly. And so they got this pink slime looking goo, I'm sorry. And they put it in the toaster or some shit like that. They got it, I don't know if you remember, and they started singing, you know, high vibrations, good feeling song. And the damn toaster started taking effect because it was reacting to what was being projected. And what was being projected was this song of happiness, right? But then they took that same goo and they could find all this rage in that same goo. So, but because it was being projected. So it's what is being projected from the heart of man to what we're talking about, this plasma and how it reacts and how it takes effect. And we have so much negativity on a frequential, what we are projecting as a species as a whole on this planet, that plasma is taking effect of our field of reality, and it's consuming, consuming the life force within all things, unless we chip the scales and start vibrating like what we're talking about, organizing within so that we can project outwardly this higher vibration so that this plasma reacts differently in a positive way. And so be it that I'm neutral and I'm not one-sided, I've got to be centered in everything that I do so that I do not take a side, but I can see all sides at the same time. Not taking a position, but just seeing where everything is standing. If this plasma reacts and responds and it has a giving force and the other one is a taking force, a negative, where it takes life force to take effect, and the other by sacrifice, like what you're talking about, just keeps taking life force to exist, and the other one is what you're talking about is all growing, all giving, right? And the feel good. Talking about the same thing. And now we're talking about how is it affecting our reality? And how are we affecting